good.
Okay.
I can hear me.
Yeah, but you're right there.
Okay. Well, thank you for your wonderful attention, and it's so great to see all of you here today. Lou and I actually have a special announcement, and he's letting me read this proclamation that was signed by all city council members in the city of Amherst. And this is because Lou met one of the council members and asked him if it was not too late to have this declaration. He said, definitely not too late. Come tomorrow and we'll have it signed for you. So may I read it to you?
Yes.
This is what it looks like inside. So I will read. Proclamation. Whereas the town of Amherst is a diverse and welcoming community that recognizes the strength found in bringing people of different backgrounds, cultures, and experiences together, and is committed to fostering an environment of inclusion, understanding, and mutual respect. And whereas Race Unity Day, also known as Race Amity Day, is observed annually on the second Sunday of June as an opportunity to promote racial harmony, mutual understanding, and the fundamental dignity of people, all people. And whereas first established in 1967 by the National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of the United States, Race Unity Day encourages communities to come together in a spirit of friendship, respect, and cooperation while recognizing the oneness of humanity. And whereas for the past 45 years, the Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of Amherst, in collaboration with neighboring Baha'i communities, has celebrated Race Unity Day through a community picnic that brings people together to build friendships, promote understanding, and celebrate the bonds that unite us. And whereas Race Unity Day serves as a reminder that meaningful progress is achieved when communities embrace inclusion and reject prejudice and work together to create a society founded upon justice, equality, and mutual respect. And whereas the observance of Race Unity Day provides an opportunity for residents of Amherst to reflect upon the importance of unity in diversity and to reaffirm their commitment to building a community where all people can thrive. And whereas the town of Amherst recognizes the efforts of individuals and organizations that promote dialogue, understanding, and cooperation among people of different races, cultures, and backgrounds, helping to strengthen the fabric of our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the town of Amherst hereby recognizes the second Sunday of June as Race Unity Day and commends the Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of Amherst and all those who work to foster understanding, friendship, and unity among all people, while encouraging residents to embrace the value of respect, inclusion, and harmony that contribute to a stronger and more united community. And it's signed by the 5 members of the Amherst City Council.
the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of our new day begun. Let us march on till victory is won. Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat, have not our weary feet come to a place for which our fathers sighed? We have come over a way that with tears have been watered. We have come treading our path through the blood of the slaughtered. Out of the gloomy past, till now we stand at last, where the white gleam of our bright star is cast.
What we know as the Negro National Anthem, but it was not always the Negro National Anthem. It was adopted as a Negro National Anthem. And as you heard, the words, it can be adopted by anyone. And that's something that people need to think about. Do not separate yourself from it. We have come from those dark days. So, one other correction, I'm not here to speak to you because that's not my thing. I'm going to share some of my thoughts with you. And hopefully that we can become friends. And we can further maybe understand why we're here.
This is the 45th annual Race Unity Picnic. If you were at the first Race Unity Picnic, you know that you were one of 3 people. You had a grill with no charcoal and raw hot dogs. And there was no speaker. We've come a long way. I want to say thank you to the committee that puts this together every year and makes it happen. I'd like to say thank you to the Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of Tonawanda, who back in February reserved this pavilion. And I'd like to thank everyone who brought food. I'm sorry, my stomach is full if I didn't get a chance to eat your food.
I'm going to jump around a bit, but what I want to share with you, 2 things. And the one is going to be, you have to remember this, e pluribus unum, out of many, / the other tradition. Now I know most of you know that phrase, e pluribus unum, out of many. Is anybody here who's not familiar with that phrase? because all of us have it probably in our pocket. It's on our dollar bill. And that phrase was adopted somewhere around 1795, if I'm not mistaken, because this was a young country. It was a very diverse country. People were coming from all over the world. And they wanted to provide a unification, not the sameness, but unity. So out of many, we're one. And they argued, and you know, Benjamin Franklin and his guys said, no, we're going to put that on the dollar bill. And then later, as you probably know, in 1956, there was Eisenhower said, well, on the front of the bill, we're going to put, in God we trust. Okay? Which said to me, when this country was young, it was being founded on principles. People were coming here because they were trying to escape the lack of freedom, not being able to worship in the way that they would want, prejudices. They were coming here for all kind of reasons, for a new life. And for a while, they knew it would take a lot of work. That we know of were homogenous. They were all of one kind. But then we came here. Some people were brought here. They were enslaved and they were brought here. Others, some came as indentured servants. And some were already here. And people arrived, and a lot of these ideals began to shift. People saw an opportunity for some free money. And so some people were sectioned off as enslaved. Other people had to be removed in order for some to settle. Some who were of the wrong gender, they would be brought here as awards for the soldiers. And they would have to fight for years and years and years and years and years and years to get the right to vote. So e pluribus unum, out of many one, is a principle that many people have fought and died for. It's not all cherries and ice cream. It served a purpose. This was an experiment. Look around, this is an experiment. The only country you go to that looks maybe like this would be Canada. We have diversity and oneness. And that's what we're going to talk about today, oneness. But I don't mean oneness like we're all the same. But I mean kind of a uniformity. And we can all agree, even to disagree. Because that may be as close as we can get, because we're not the same. But if we agree to disagree, at least it moves us to try to understand each other. So this e pluribus unum, and I'm going to speak about the other tradition, is what brought us to here today to be able to celebrate what we call race unity. Now, unfortunately, some people think when I talk about race unity, I'm talking about what some people like to call black and white, which are adjectives that I don't really use in my own vernacular because I don't have a reason to put adjectives in front of people's names. I have a reason to call you by a color. I don't think of you as a color. But what brought us here, what made us who we are, is we learned in our learning to work together. Because we knew we could not accomplish anything. And by working together, we began to build a strong country. But somewhere along the way, it seems like we've lost our way. Now we have red states and blue states, Republicans and Democrats. We have people who are separated by genders, by how much money they have. Is that consistent with our principles? You know, some of our principles, and everything seems to be moving us towards divisions. But we're here together, and our purpose is that we gotta find a way to make a way somehow. So e pluribus unum is our way. Out of many, we are one. That's the principle this country was founded on. That's the principle we're gonna stay with. And we're gonna talk about, for those of you who don't really remember the history, this has always been the way. Some of you think that the history is doubts of just slavery and fighting, all of that. But from the beginning, many people think, well, yeah, I remember I heard a story about Africans being brought here and put into the Institute of Slavery, and there's been racism ever since. And we all know stories. But I want to take you back there to start with, because those are dark days that Sandra was singing about. We have come this far. For those people who were enslaved, they cried and they had tears and they wanted more for their children, so they tried to escape. Thank you, Lord. They tried to escape the institution of slavery, and so they headed north. And they traveled through swamps, through mountains, through gullies, and so forth. And they were using the stars. And people had told them, well, there are safe houses. Go knock on the door and they will protect you. These African enslaved people took that threat and set out for freedom and clawed their way up into the north to Philly and knocked on those doors, wanting some food, shelter, protection. Because if they caught, they were being murdered. And the door swung open. And they were welcomed. And they were given food. And they were given rest. And the people who welcomed them, they were not the same color people. So from the beginning, there's been this moral fiber that has drawn people together. The other tradition of making friendship, that we who stand on principle are willing to lay down our lives too, so that you can be free. Out of many, one. That's important that we understand the history. Yes, there were people who were greedy, who saw a way to make a quick buck, and that's what they did, and that's part of our history, but still, we struggle. So we continue up to another relationship that would change the course of time. When we look at someone like Harriet Tubman, who many of you know, was a woman who was able to take groups of enslaved people and navigate them up to the north. Matter of fact, she made several trips helping to free enslaved people. She said, well, I would have freed more if only they knew that they were enslaved. But she couldn't have did it by herself. She was backed by a financier named Thomas Garrett. And at that time, there's no contact between people of color and the host people, because that could end with the threat of death. So for them to form a partnership, to be doing this kind of work, if he was caught, Thomas Garrett was caught, all of his holdings would be very rich, would be gone. But he persevered because he was a principal. And then you have a person like Frederick Douglass, who we know, brilliant orator, speaking about freedoms and so forth, and was oppressed by so many in this country. And finally he said, I gotta get out of here, the racism is too much. And he met this guy from Ireland, Daniel O'Connor, an Irish guy. And Frederick went to Ireland. When he arrived in Ireland, he met all these other Caucasian people that were unlike the people that he was running from. They welcomed him. They treated him with respect and dignity. He was overwhelmed, he was broken. Matter of fact, if you go to Ireland now, you'll find a statue of Frederick Douglass in Ireland. ended a very Douglas society in Ireland. He eventually would come back to this country. He said, I've traveled afar and I see that there's hope for the races to work together, to collaborate, to overcome these dark days that you spoke about. And that's why he came back. Because like you, like him, like us, the work is unfinished. We have to find a way to build these friendships out of many one. This is the other tradition that I'm talking about. So we talk about another relationship. I have one last relationship that I want to talk about that struck me. And that is the relationship of the crew of the Artemis 2. Everybody knows about the Artemis 2, right? Just came back from the moon. They traveled 250,000 miles to the other side of the moon, farther than any other human being has ever traveled. Now the crew was made up of one woman, one African American, one Canadian, and one other guy. And one other guy. I'm sorry, say what?
The equipment needs to be moved away from the rain.
Oh.
It's fine.
Okay, for now.
I want to talk about that crew. Because they were going to go 250,000 miles, risking their life, and they were going to share a space together. So they have to be able to get along. That was paramount, because what they had a job to do, what was paramount, that they be able to work together for the success of the mission. And they did. They went to the other side of the moon. They looked back at the universe, which was never ending, blackness. They looked down towards where they had come to Earth. They said it was about the size of a fingernail. And the woman, her last name is Koch, in her interview she said, they asked her what was she most impressed by. She said, I looked out into this darkness, and the earth was the size of my fingernail. She said, everything I know, have learned, I love, I feel, is way out there in space. That's it. When I turn my head, it's the everlasting universe, never ending. She said, Earth is simply a place that is hung out in space for people to learn to live together and thrive. And if they don't, she offered no other solution that she could see that could happen. So we have to really think about that. And we're down here quarreling and grabbing up land and doing this and treating each other badly. Our only purpose is to learn to live together, love together, respect each other, towards the betterment of humankind. One more, last one. All right.
We're an hour.